Congratulations, you have made it to the end of Unit 1. We're on the last lesson, Compound Inequalities number 2. We referred to it in lesson number 8. We did and inequalities. It was the first type of compound inequality. Now we're going to do the second, and if you remember, those are or inequalities. So, an example, find a number greater than 10 or less than 3. It can't do both, right? That's where the word or comes into play. A number greater than 10, so n greater than 10. A number less than 3, n less than 3. You cannot do both, okay? So the only way to write this is n is greater than 10 or n is less than 3. Notice that there's no special way of writing these inequalities like there was with the and. You must, I'm putting this in all caps. I'm going to go ahead and put a star beside it. I have people who don't listen to this, and then they miss all of these problems. You must have the word or in your answer with this type of compound inequality. If you don't, it will not be counted correct. Okay? All right. Let's go and clear that and scroll down a little bit. A solution to this type of inequality is a number that makes one inequality true, right? You can't have both. It's impossible to have both. You can't have a number bigger than 10 and less than -3. It's impossible. But when I say or, you do one or the other. In the above example, there are no numbers that work for both inequalities, like I just said, but there are an infinite number of solutions to each inequality by itself. To show all of the solutions, you know what we need to do. We need to graph. So n is greater than 10 or n is less than 3. You got to put the smaller number on the left, the larger number on the right. If you mix that up, you're going to get some points off. Be careful with negatives. Positives aren't hard. Negatives, a little bit harder. So they were both open circled. Less than 3 would be to the left. Greater than 10 would be to the right. Notice there's no overlap. They're going away from each other. Those are ors. All right, let's go ahead and solve one from start to finish. To solve 4x plus 3 is less than -5 or -2x plus 7 is less than 1, you simply solve each inequality by itself and then combine the answers with the word or. So let's do the first one. This is going to be like solving inequalities number 1. Just have to do it twice. Subtract 3. -5 minus 3 is -8. Divide by 4, I get x is less than -2. I'm going to write that on the line. Now I'm going to do the other one. -2x plus 7 is less than 1. Subtract 7. -2x is less than -6. Divide by -2. Because I divide by a negative, the sign does flip, and I get x is 3. Or x is greater than 3. So I've got both of those there, and I need to combine them with the word or, and it needs to be there. All right. Now let's go ahead and graph this. The smaller number is -2. The larger number is 3. -2 is open. 3 is open. Less than -2 would be to the left. Greater than 3 would be to the right. And there is my graph. Got a couple more of these to practice. So, 2 separate problems. Doing the first one, add 2, I get 6 is greater than or equal to 3x. Divide by 3, I get 2 is greater than or equal to x. I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. You can write it just like that, or you can switch it and put x is less than or equal to 2. I'm going to go ahead and put the word or because I know it's going to be there. Don't forget that word. Next one has a fraction involved. I'm going to multiply by 4 first. 8 times 4 is 32. Subtract 2. Divide by 5. I get x is greater than 6. So I've got 2 and 6. Open and closed at 2. X is greater than 6 is that way. 2 is greater than X. This is why it might be a better idea to write X is less than or equal to 2. It's easier to graph that way, but you should know by now it goes to the left. All right, number 2, a little more involved, but still the same idea. 4x minus 4 distributed is greater than 5x plus 2. I'm going to move the 4x over, so I'm going to have negative 4 is greater than 5x minus 4x is x plus 2. Subtract 2, I get negative 6 is greater than x. I'm going to go ahead and flip that. X is less than negative 6. Or, and now I'm going to do the other one. I'm going to go ahead and add 3x to the other side. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. Nobody would probably do that. I'm going to subtract 9. So I get negative 9 is greater than negative 3x. Divide by negative 3. I get 3 is less than x. Why did I flip the sign? Because the variable, or we divided by a negative. I'm going to then put the x here. It's eating the x. And it kind of flips back if you think of it that way. All right, so negative 6 is my smaller number. 3 is my larger number. Open at negative 6, open at 3. Less than negative 6 is to the left. Bigger than 3 is to the right. 2 more on the back and we'll be done. Pause it, see if you can try this one. So I tried throwing a curveball at you here. This is not an or, this is an and. This is what we did yesterday. Should remember how to do this. We're going to add 1 to all 3 sides. Negative 9 plus 1 is negative 8. Leaving me 2x in the middle. And 32 on the right. Divide by 2, I get negative 4 is less than x, which is less than or equal to 16. And this one, I can find a number between those two. In fact, there are lots of them. And we shade him in the middle. Okay, on the test, you're going to have to know whether it's and or, and they're going to be all mixed together. All right, last one, fractions, complicated, of course. What else would you expect? Distributing at 2/3, 2 times 3x is 6x. 6x divided by 3 is 2x. 2 times 12 is 24, divided by 3 is 8. Is less than or equal to 8. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do this one. Then we'll do the other side of the or. I get x is less than or equal to 0. Or, now when you write the word or, that reminds you that you still have some work to do. I've seen a lot of people stop there and say, I'm done, and forget this whole second part. Well, with the second part, I'm going to subtract 12 first. Multiply by 3. Oops, don't forget the x. And then divide by 2. So I get my two numbers of 0 and 15. They're both closed because they're equal to. Sorry. And we shade outside. X is less than 0 to the left. X is greater than 15 to the right. And that concludes Unit 1. Test will be soon.